what I've seen is that most of the times people have great ideas, but they are not well positioned. And that makes it hard for them to get the funding, right? So I'll give you a practical example. People are not funding your good intention. People are not funding the fact that you are making a difference, but they are funding how you are making the difference.
Story is very important. Without the right story, no matter what you're trying to do, would not be understood from the perspective or from the picture you're trying to paint.
Storytelling, which is the one you say, there are certain things that you do not say that are already telling stories on their own. And that is structure.
Yeah.
So you talk about how you are changing lives, you are doing X, Y, Z, you are doing this. So I'll give you a practical example, right? In the 90s, one of the easiest way where funds were raised from European America down to Africa is to put the picture of one child who hasn't eaten for days and there are flies. That's storytelling.
Yeah.
Right? But now listen, you have told that story, but you not tell another story when you don't have structure. What story do you tell? I say to you, we are XYZ NGO and we're changing lives and blah, blah, blah. Give us money so we can save Femi and Femi will not die. Now, I've done all of that and somebody's compelled. Somebody probably living in Budapest is compelled and says, oh God, I need to give 10 euros to Femi to make sure Femi doesn't die. I've done all of that beautiful storytelling. He now wants to donate. Guess what? I now go and send a private account. I've told another story.
So what do you want? I said I want this. Send payment details. The first payment detail was a private account. I'm like, wait, how would I deliver? Like, how would you do delivery? After all this back and forth, I called again and the person said, it would be better off if you just come and eat at the restaurant. I was like, okay. I'm not hungry again.
So you know what happened? They caught you, but they didn't keep you.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Dr. Enoch Haruna, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, to get started, let me brag about you a little bit. You are a strategic development consultant with over a decade or more experience in fundraising, project management and delivery, and organizational strategy. And you're a managing partner at DevX Strategy.
Yes.
Leading institution initiative like helping social enterprises, non-profit and startups, and also entrepreneurs and organizations across alternative funding, putting their structure in place, getting them ready to build strong structure for scale and sustainability, and everything in between. Like if you go to your website, there is the why we are here is long. There's the services is long. There's a lot you do, but it's all around development consulting, and it's basically trying to answer the question of, as a organization, what structural changes can you make to be properly positioned for growth and to access the necessary financial support to grow.
I was going to say write that down because I'm going to borrow that. That's the best summary I've ever gotten about the organization, but very, very apt and well on point.
Great. So I think I've had the opportunity to see some of your work, and also like the program you did, the startup program you did, providing like information and more like an educational program for startup founders to get some information that they need to be properly set up. But today, I want us to talk a little bit more about why we talk about structure and that, but it's going to be centered around alternative financing, especially for social enterprises and startups. But before we do that, I would like to give you the opportunity to also introduce yourself.
Oh my. I mean, what can I say on top of that? But I mean, so my name is Dr. Enoch Haruna, which you already know, or Enoch like everybody fondly calls me. Before now, I had worked in development world. What that means, I had worked with a couple of NGOs locally and internationally, and also I had kind of scaled out of that core nonprofit to now working with a couple of startups to literally do what we're going to talk about today, looking at alternative funding opportunities and ensuring that they are fundable, basically. And that's out of many other things that are the things we do and I do in general. But I think you had already said, so I'm just adding some spice to what you had already said.
Thank you. So you've helped organizations raise millions, not just in grants,
Yes.
right? But also in belief.
I like that.
Right?
I like that.
You've shown that fundraising is a strategy and it's not luck. Many people say, oh, I was doing something and an organization reached out to me and raised funds. It's not luck.
It's anything but luck.
Anything for luck. So, what's your philosophy for helping founders and not-profits unlock capital in this tough economy?
Oh, thank you very much. That's a really, really good question, right? So first thing on my mind, like I mean, I see this a lot of time. I see people reach out to us and say, we want to sign a contract with you guys. We want you to raise funds. And the first thing I always do, because I mean, I see this question a lot of time, is to usually send to you some form of survey for you to fill. And the whole essence of that for survey is to find out if you are fundable. And there are a couple of questions we will ask you, a couple of documentations, your antecedents, what do you do? Your ability to answer, and I'm giving it out, right? Your ability to actually answer in the right way will determine whether or not we can just move ahead to the crux of the matter, which is now trying to get funding for you. But in my experience, what I've seen is that most of the times people have great ideas, but they are not well positioned. And that makes it hard for them to get the funding, right? So I'll give you a practical example. People are not funding your good intention. People are not funding the fact that you are making a difference, but they are funding how you are making the difference, right? It's not just exciting to say that you are changing lives, you are doing X, Y, Z, right, as a social enterprise or as a non-profit. But the question is the sustainability, the systems you have in place are the things that will make funders very comfortable to fund you, so to say.
A CSR, which is corporate social responsibility, is basically an organization that have a part of their marketing budget earmarked for social responsibility, and then you come with the idea that fund my water project, and full stop. So, what makes a social project like that exciting for any funder, either a grant or a corporate organization, or even a VC guy that wants to get involved?
So I'll say this to you first, right? And I'm excited you went to CSR, corporate social responsibility, because I tell people that in the long run, it's a more sustainable income stream for you as a social enterprise or as a non-profit. Sustainable because, the philosophy of granting is that you can't be continually being granted by the same organization over time. It's an unwritten philosophy, right? The funders or the NGOs cannot go back to their board and their givers and say that every year we are giving money to
the same person.
Praise. Praise is not the only person out there, right? So, but for CSR, as you are able to do what is most important, which I'm going to go into, right? What will make most of these private organizations give you some of that profit of theirs, right? Is the question or is the answer, your ability to answer value proposition, right? It's not enough to say you had a great idea. Why should Nivea, why should UAC, why should they give you that money? Here's what I'll say. Something happened to me many, many years ago. I'll never ever forget it in my life. And it is literally, around this time, this happened like 7 years ago. I used to work for one non-profit, right? And we had projects within Niger State with women, rural women, that do a lot of things around the share nuts. And I had to go do monitoring and evaluation because we had built a warehouse for them. So I needed to go see that they were working and they were doing processing. And as I got there, somehow, the leader of the women heard that it was my birthday. And they were so excited. So they had ambushed me. And the next thing they started singing. It was a beautiful sight for me to behold because, I wasn't excited I was on the road on my birthday, but I had to do it. It was work. And they had a local version of Happy Birthday song. And they had done it, they had sang for me, and they had brought me a couple of drinks, their local drinks, and it was exciting. And let me tell you what happened. While those men were so happy, and one of the remarks of them is that I have done so much for them, that nobody had helped them, people had not helped them, but since we came, the organization, we have supported them, we have showed them love. While they were talking, what was going through my mind is that, while to these people this thing was free, was it actually free? Right?
Yeah.
We were a non-profit. We were supporting. We built a warehouse for them. We had given them access to money to buy the commodities and all of that. But the backstory that most people don't get is that we were funded by the biggest off-taker of share in the whole of Europe. Right?
Yeah.
So this organization who uses this product that these women were supposed to pick, store, realized that they were not getting so much. So what did they do? Rather than saying, just come to the community, they look for an organization like ours, an NGO, and said, see, we're going to give you money, engage these people, train them, skill them up, ensure that our raw material will be available by the work you do. So to that woman, it was we showing love and we did something free. But the backstory is that we're funded by people who wanted to get access to raw material. right? So when you come across CSR grants with the ideology that it's not necessarily free money, there is a catch. There's a value proposition. So let's print a scenario, right? You want to do water, like you said, and you want to do water in certain communities, right? And you want to be able to give them water. Now, what is that water necessary for? Or who needs the water the most? Let's say, for example, it's a community of hundreds of people or thousands of people, and there's this new detergent, right? New detergent trying to get into the market, and they have affordable products, and they're thinking in their mind, how can we take northern Nigeria? And you come to them and say, guess what? I've been doing water in northern Nigeria, and I can do more. And there are these communities that are in thousands of numbers. And to them, and here's what the CSR manager is thinking, by providing water, now they can wash their clothes. Now they can buy our detergents. Are you getting me?
Yeah.
So I'm not coming to that detergent company saying, give me money. But I'm saying that by providing water, these guys will go to the next step to see that they need to now buy detergents. And guess what? While we are doing all of this, who is the detergent that they will all be talking about? Your product. So they have given you some couple of money that is free, right? But by doing that work, you have secured for them a pipeline of customers over the years, and they will get their money back.
You often talk about structure being more important than story.
Yes.
That is a very bold statement, because a lot of people talk a lot about your story, right? And I think Africa in general is bogged down with the idea of story. That story is very important.
Yeah.
Without the right story, no matter what you're trying to do, would not be understood from the perspective or from the picture you're trying to paint. So, you often talk about structure being more important than story, which is a little bit controversial with what people think. Can you please elaborate a lot more about that?
First thing, and I'm excited you brought it up, because in this time where there's this buzzword, everybody's talking storytelling. I mean, you look left, right, somebody has a content, somebody's doing a video on storytelling. Everybody wants to talk about how to be a storyteller. I mean, your ability to tell story. And here's what I say to them. Storytelling has always existed. It's just now we have a word, right? And we have some form of write-up to explain or teach people. But everybody's a storyteller, whether you like it or not. Now, why will I say structure is more important than storytelling? Because storytelling, or the act of storytelling, is not just in the verbal statement in itself. So if you focus more on the marketing storytelling, which is the one you say, there are certain things that you do not say that are already telling stories on their own.
Oh.
And that is structure.
Yeah.
So you talk about how you are changing lives. You are doing X, Y, Z. You are doing this. So I'll give you a practical example, right? In the 90s, one of the easiest way where funds were raised from European America down to Africa is to put the picture of one child who hasn't eaten for days and there are flies. That's storytelling.
Yeah.
Right? But now listen, you have told that story. But you now tell another story when you don't have structure. What story do you tell? I say to you, we are XYZ NGO and we're changing lives and blah, blah, blah. Give us money so we can save Femi and Femi will not die. Now, I've done all of that and somebody's compelled. Somebody probably living in Budapest is compelled and say, oh God, I need to give 10 euros to Femi to make sure Femi doesn't die. I've done all of that beautiful storytelling. He now wants to donate. Guess what? I now go and send the private account. I've told another story. Because what I've said to him is that there's no structure. And he now begins to question whether or not that funds will be used or there will be a diversion. So structure, here's what I say. Storytelling invites people to the house. But your inability to have structures, chairs, will determine how long they will stay in the house. So they've come into the house, but there's no structure, there's no chairs. They can't stand forever, they will leave. So it's very important that don't get eluded with just marketing. Do you have the product that will keep them afterwards? And that is structure.
One example that came to mind that happened to me yesterday was that I was on IG and I saw this restaurant. I was like, I need to buy this food.
Oh.
So, and I reached out. They said, you can place an order on DM. I was like, the pictures were beautiful. Whosoever did the videography and everything did a perfect job. They even had ladies do a voiceover on the story. Like the story behind the food was beautiful.
Catchy.
It was so catchy. I was salivating already. Like, the description of the prawns, deep fried, everything was just. I went into IG. I want to order this. Then no response in a couple of minutes. Okay, let me go and check if they're on Chowder. Let me go and check if they're on Glovo. They're not on Glovo. They're not on Chowder. How do I order this thing? Oh, there's a WhatsApp number on the I checked on the WhatsApp number. I sent a message. No response. I've called them. Call kept ringing. No response. About an hour later, they responded. I said, what do you want? I said, I want this. Send payment details. The first payment detail was a private account. I was like, wait, how would I deliver? Like, how would you do delivery? After all this back and forth, I called again and the person said, it would be better off if you just come and eat at the restaurant. I was like, okay. I'm not hungry again.
So you know what happened? They caught you, but they didn't keep you.
Exactly.
So it's like going to fish. You put the net, you caught the fish, and while you caught the fish, what you should naturally do is take out the hook or kill the fish or something or store it, and you're misbehaving, and the fish went back to the ocean. And that's what a lot of us do. We have that exciting story. We get the attention of the people, but we don't follow through. What could they have done better? Number one, if they knew that they were not going to be very good with the process of eating out, they would have made it clear from the very beginning that we are a walk-in store. So at that point where you're salivating, what you will have done in that hours you have wasted is to wear your shirt and drive there, right? If they didn't have the structure, the apparatus, or the things to ensure that they can literally do delivery. Alternatively, they wanted to do delivery. WhatsApp has had this for a while now. Auto-reply messages.
Yeah.
Right? Automations. That when you chat me, there are options, and guess what? And more importantly, because I understand that you might be a startup restaurant or you don't have all the resources, there are ways to actually manage the people through automation, right? So maybe you send us a WhatsApp message, there's an automatic reply that says that, guess what? We are open, we do takeouts from so time to so time. So automatically what happens, you're like, oh wow, they do takeouts from 1 to 8, but this is 11. So
let me wait.
I'll just wait. But the main thing, you are not in limbo. They didn't finish the job. And that's what a lot of social enterprise, startups, and non-profit do. We focus more on marketing, but we don't have the systems to keep the people that we have marketed to.
A lot of startups now, like I've been speaking to a lot of founders, especially not just the technology founders, but also the brick and mortar or the technology-enabled founders, like founders that their business doesn't have anything to do with technology, but they use technology to either expand their reach or to provide their services.
Yeah.
And one trend I'm seeing is all of them are trying to have a non-profit arm of the business, right? I won't say it's a non-profit arm of the business. I just say it's like, let me look for an example without giving out the details. So a business that does fashion, for example.
Okay.
And in the bid to do fashion, the business sees the need to have tailors. And, the biggest problem they have is constant supply of tailors, of good quality tailors. But that is not their main business. So my main business is not getting tailors, it's sewing clothes and selling on internet. But how do I solve my problem of getting tailors? Then it hits the business owner. Why can't I train all these all these people, all these Hausa guys that carries those, what they call them? They carry this sewing machine.
Yeah.
They will just run the thread through your clothes, right? And some have shown creativity. Why don't I have a business, like a non-profit, where I can create a system that trains them to be actual tailors for fashion products, not just fixing buttons, fixing cotton your trousers, but actually sewing high quality fabric, cool clothes, and how they could manage expensive fabrics. And my business will be one on the line as off-takers, in the sense that if there's a program that can train these tailors, I will be one of the businesses that will hire them.
Yes.
And I believe that there are other businesses that would like to hire them as well. So problem number one, I don't have good tailors. Other businesses have the same problem. But this cannot be a business. This has to be a social enterprise. You see now that a lot of businesses are doing that. And I've had this conversation with people in fashion industry, people in that make shoes or repair shoes, people that are even the fact that a lot of people now in tech are trying to train, the 3MTT program, the program that is currently being ongoing by the Enugu state government, and many other programs are trying to solve the same level of problem, which is train people, talent, and then put them in the workforce. But these businesses are saying that this is not my core. So this should be a social enterprise.
So what I'll say to that is that while I think that there has to be a clear-cut reason why you are transitioning or you are switching your modus operandi to social enterprise, there has to be proper justification.
I won't say they are switching. It's like they're trying to solve a problem that is not their business problem. That is not their business only problem, right? Oh, I need tailors to sew my clothes, but I have an issue getting tailors.
So let me do this so I can ensure. I get you totally, and I totally understand why. But the problem is that, or the fear is that when it now becomes a common norm that people now feel the need to now always do that, we now lose the essence of this. If you allow me to advise you, how would you have gone about this? I think that the organization that caters to that, partner up with them. Because if you go full on, and don't get me wrong, I understand the need for this because this is a critical part of your business. If you don't have tailors, what are you then sewing, right?
Yeah.
But if you go full on, and this is the mistake we do, we try to create a department of few people that handles that, and at the end of the day, we're not able to do it properly because it's not our core. I get it. But if you have the resources and you are able to do it properly, then perfect, because you have solved your problem, and guess what? You have also created impact, which should be the goal of every organization. You must take sustainability, the 3 P's of sustainability, which is people, profit, and planet. Right? What impact are you making on the planet? Are you making it better than you actually met it? As in profit, but more important, people. What is the impact of the people in your business, right? Which is the social enterprise bit. So I totally understand. But for me, like I tell most people who usually want to do that, is that, do you have the capacity to do it right? If you don't have, go the route of partnering with organizations that will do this. And we have seen this same model thriving many times, where people say, right, I'll give you back an example. You're doing podcasting, and you're talking about something that is very dear to me. Why should I go start my own podcasting business? Why don't I come to you and say, guess what? Make me a consistent guest, or can we be co-hosts, so to say? You host some part, I host some parts. By doing this, what have I done? I'm riding on the structures you have created already.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't have to go through the headache of having to reinvent the wheel. Number 2, I'm going to do this as a reduced cost, as against having to start all over myself, because you have a running budget.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, okay, guess what? I'm going to partner with you. I'm going to give you 20 naira out of a 100 naira budget. It's better to go that route than to having to go and look for 100 naira entirely, and it's going to take me longer because I have not perfected the act where you are. So yes, I understand why a lot of businesses are doing this, because there is that need. But I will say to many businesses, don't take more than you can chew. Don't bite more than you can chew. If you cannot do it perfectly well, there are people who are doing it. See, there's a reason why partnership is the last of the SDGs, right? Because it needs to be emphasized more. Right? I tell people that partnership is the new competition. If we do together, we'll do more. And I'm going to share this with you. Very interesting story happened many years ago. And the women in Liberia, so I was doing a project in Liberia, and I was there for a while, and I went for a conference. And I noticed at the conference, the women kept on chanting a song, right? And very funny song. If you have heard Liberian Broken, you wonder if they are speaking English, but I love Liberians, right? And because they have good diction when they're speaking proper English. And they were saying, Sapasa, 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 no longer men in front and the women in the back, together we will do Sapasa, Sa. Literally, that's how they were singing it. And in my mind, I was like, is this a local lingua? And they're like, no, it's English. I said, what English? And they had to break it down to me, but here's what they were saying. Side by side, side by side. No longer men in front, the women in the back, side by side, together we go. And the ideology of that song is that, guess what? Together we will do more. I'm holding your hands, we're a stronger force. We're able to conquer the tides more when we are together. And that is my ideology to life and business success. Don't take on more than you can chew. And also in Ghana, just to close with this session or this question with this part. In Ghana, there's also a popular funny saying, they say this and that enterprise. That is used to describe somebody who does everything. You are here today, you are there tomorrow, you are doing this, you are doing that. You're a jack of no trade. right? As far as I'm concerned, don't go behind the elongated version of that saying that says that a jack of all trades is better than a master of one, right? No. The jack of all trades is one who has, to some extent, perfected a lot of the many trades that he's involved in. But you are not yet good. You are not even at 2% of that trade, and you take it on. So that's my view on that.
And the biggest problem I see is, founders not having enough structure in one thing and then starting something that require a lot more structure to be able to do.
Yep.
What is one common mistake or the most common mistakes you see like social enterprises make when they're trying to seek grants?
Oh, for me, the first or the most, and this is my 2 cents, please forgive me, because there are other ones. So, for me, right, one of the biggest common mistake I see with social enterprise is that they go at it beggarly, right? It's a grant, it's free money. You don't need to come in your hands and be all cry and and this is what I do for every grant, and I've written over the years different organizations, and with all humility, grants $1 million. I've done 1.2 million the African grant. I have done Portfolio $300 and something $1,000. I was part of NYFF $6 million funded by 3 different organizations, Illuminate, Ford Foundation, and Makata, and all of those things, right? And I say to you that the strategy that works is a strategy of defining common ground.
Back again to value.
Back to value proposition. Don't come all beggarly, but instead come by identifying what is that funder concerned about and prove to them that you are able to not just collect this money and run, but be able to help them in their most pressing need. Once you are able to show that, you will get the fund more easier than going beggarly. So don't see grant as free money. There's no free money even in Freetown. Right? When that money is being given to you as a grant, there's a catch, and not a bad catch. There is some value the funder is getting, so to say. So identify it. Identify also how your program, your organization is able to support that big picture and put that forward. And that is how you get the money.
That's very straight to the point.
Straight to the point.
How do you see alternative funding evolving beyond just grants?
Oh, wow. So alternative funding will I believe that we have not scratched the surface of possible alternative funding opportunities. There are a lot of informal funding opportunities that are not yet, have not been structured to be formal, but a lot of them are going to come, right? Do you understand? I'll give you an example. A lot in my mind. I'm thinking about so many ideas, right? But even in terms of crowdfunding.
Getting the people who care about, like what Mr. Beast did for this thing called, for water.
Oh, I've not seen that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think it's called Water Nation, or it has to do with water, in collaboration with hundreds and hundreds of other creators to fund a single project. So that means that you don't have to, as a creator, you don't have to bring your own money. Just create content telling people to bring their own money. And then $1, and on the website, there is a calculation of how much $1, how much water $1 can provide to how many people. So it calculates it in terms of years. $1 will give water to one person for X amount of years, right? And then that funds the actual project of, distributing water. Like, obviously, you've had conversation with other people in the NGO space who are against the idea of Mr. Beast bringing water into their country because of there's a lot of conversation around that.
There's always going to be a controversy.
But the fact is that this is not a centralized NGO structure where they need Ford Foundation or other foundations to provide the money. This is now any other person in the world that can see value in the problem being solved can also get involved in solving that problem.
There's this thing, I was having a conversation somewhere, and we kind of bantered and brought this idea, but think about the idea of promise investments. Let me explain. I'm like, we have a promise note. So for example, now let's say you do podcasting, right? And I can imagine what you spend on being able to get something this beautiful. And I come to you and I say, guy, I'm setting up a studio of mine. It's going to be grand. But right now I need X, Y, Z, right? So let's say I'm playing with numbers, right? You averagely spend 5 million now every year shooting content. And I say to you that I know this year is having one more month. I'm fully about to set up my studio, but see what I'm going to do. Give me 2 million naira. Invest 2 million naira into my studio. And at the point where my studio is available next year, I'm going to give you the ability to actually have 50% off for all your shoot for the whole of next year.
Basically, returning terms in value in terms of returning the value in kind.
Yep. You're going to jump at that.
Obviously.
Because if you're paying 5 million every year, the chances of, I'm certain that you have 3 million already if you don't have the complete money ready to pay in January. And I'm saying to you, I'm going to do a state of the art, automatically you jump at giving me that money. Right? So there's so many alternative funding opportunities that as
you just have to be creative.
You have, that's the watchword.
And it has to be like, if you are clear, this is my own personal opinion, that if you are clear, I believe this strongly, if you are clear on the problem and the value prep, it's easy for you to find ways to get people to give you money for it.
True. Identify what they're interested in. I'm going to share one very funny story. First business I ever did in my life was university final year. Right? In that time, this printer just came out, the 3-in-1 printer. The printer that could do it wasn't very common. You understand?
Scan, print,
and
photocopy.
HP. It had just come out that time. So I wanted to get money. I needed a way of getting money. I knew about it. I had an idea. And I had to watch read some documents about what that printer could do. So I sat 3 of my friends and I said, guys, I want us to buy this printer. See what we can do. And it was a private university, so we didn't go out all the time. So printing was a major demand. And I'm like, see, I also found that you could refill the ink of this printer, right? We buy paper. And I said, okay, guys, this is what's going to cost us. At that time, I think total cost to set up that video was like 20-something thousand naira. And I said, how much can you let go? How much can you invest? And we'll share the money based on your investment. I didn't have a dime of my money. But from that business, 30% of the profit came to me automatically. Wow. I didn't have a dime. The 3 of them they gave me 30,000 naira. Until we were done with our final year and we had graduated, we had made way more than our profits. Right? Way more than our investment, inclusive of profits. Yes, and so they're utterly, and it was just sit down, I did a presentation. Literally, if you know how boys hostel used to be, very informal, but I made it formal, right? And got the money, right? And got investors to invest in it. You understand? And the catch, here's the meat of the matter. The catch was that I told them that for every one of them, for the whole of that semester,
they'll print for free.
And that was the catch.
The number made sense. Like, if I was to print 5 pages,
how much did I spend? So they jumped at it. So my job was to make sure that we made enough money from the general public printing to fund their own personal printing, and also the money they got as returns on the investment every month.
Wow. So you if you know your numbers clearly and you understand your business and the structure around it, it's very easy for you to know exactly 100%, where to
100%.
What's one fundraising source? You've talked about it already, so we could just keep the question, right? I just mistakenly had to read it out.
Not an issue.
What mindset should founders adopt to position themselves for long-term sustainability, for not just short-term funding? This problem where if in non-profits we raise money and run out of money, and people think that non-profit means that do not make money. Oh, this is how someone I was speaking to said it. Said, people think that non-profit is non-income. It simply means you are not supposed to... you could
profit-minded.
You're not supposed to be profit-minded.
Yes. You should be impact-minded.
It should be impact-minded, meaning that as long as you break even.
So let me tell you this. I'm going to withhold the name, but the last NGO I had worked, my job portfolio. You could just check your LinkedIn and say you worked in. That's a smart way to give it up. But my job was head of partnership, grants, and business development. 3 portfolio. And I mean, the partnership was clear, identifying non-financial partnerships, right, and locking that for the organization. Granting is fundraising, getting all the fund. But the third part was very interesting for me, and that was the business development bit. For a non-profit that was 20-something years old, right? But one of the things the board has said and said that, see, we can't keep on living on grant and funding. What happens if the grant don't come?
All our commitment, what happens?
What happens? So the whole idea of creating that pillar of my role or my department was to begin to think sustainability, and which we did. So I remember when we were going to Banter, we were going to build our SOP basically towards business sustainability. One of the things we did, and I remember the team we were working with that time, was that the watchword for us, and I'd written it clear on the board, was that We are going to make money, but also make a difference while making money. Right? So we sat down and think that whatever investment we are going to do to ensure sustainability, we must also make sure that that investment is making impact too. So what did? We took the agro space and we created a fund, right? So we went to places like, oh my God, Kenya. Yes, Kenya. There was a region of Kenya where it was pretty poor, and the major thing was agriculture. So we said, okay, we're going to do a fund. We're going to invest into the farmers in that place, make it very affordable compared to what they have gotten in banks and all of that in terms of their interest rates of return. But guess what? We are doing two things, and these guys didn't even have access to a lot of finance. We are making access to finance available for them, and we're also making profit, right? And we created a fund and created a vehicle just to ensure that people don't see us as people that have left our core. But we created a vehicle to run that. And the returns on that fund was enough to, at the least, because that was the goal, at the least to be able to run the organization, salaries, light, and basic parts of our program. So, I mean, I've left here now. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to say, so it's not easy to know which organization, right? But for as long as possible, basic funding will not be an issue for the organization because of that strategy. So you must think sustainability.
Must think sustainability. There's this someone I was speaking to, this Washington Fellow program. And Mandela Washington. I think I went to see a friend at the hotel they were lodging, and we were having a conversation with one of the members of and he was talking about something he developed in the agri space, and basically he was selling the products, right? And every time he sell the product and he tries to make money out of it. For example, let us say the product he was selling was 10,000. It was like, for him to sell the product, cover expenses and everything, was 10,000 naira.
Okay.
He will be able to make a 5% profit to 10% profit on it after cost. But investors were not giving him the money because the investors thought that he should sell the product for 15,000 naira. But he, going to these villages, felt that 15,000 naira is way too much. And he was able to live well on 5 to 10% profit, even after paying his salary and paying everybody. And that was where he started to think, oh, you know what, let me start thinking about this as a social enterprise. And let me change my company from a profit organization to a non-profit. Because at this point, 5% doesn't seem attractive to any venture investor. And he's just doing that because he felt these farmers they just need this thing and it's working for them, right? And so he got, obviously, at the time USAID was still active, and USAID got involved and they got some money, and basically they funded the distribution and production of the items. So the reason why he was looking for venture funding was that he was making enough money to sell a fixed number of products.
He wanted to do more.
He wanted to scale. Now, to scale, you go to the bank and the bank says, oh, this is money available to you, but 5%, 10% on some regions. If you were, no matter how hard you work, how much is our interest rate on your loan?
Back.
You can't pay back, right? And so to scale the business, getting grants and alternative fund financing from USAID and other organizations was a solution. But it was sustainable in the sense that he was paying everybody's bill, paying himself, bought a new car, living fine, but it was no more than 10% max cut in profits.
The first thing I would say to every business person listening out there is that the foundation of your business is the philosophy. What is the philosophy? That defines what that business is. Is it a social enterprise or non-profit or a business, right? Do not lose your philosophy, because what happens is that at the time you begin to change, you begin to lose the drive for the business. And the founder is a key person to the success of a business. So if he had budged and increased the profit, he might have not been as excited. And over time, the business, I'm talking about why businesses get this funding and die over time, right? If there isn't drive, because whatever is on the top literally trickles down to everybody. If the excitement, the energy isn't there, the people become very lackadaisical and a lot of things begin to crumble, right? So the first thing first, I'm excited he stuck to his philosophy. One of the things I might correct though is that, and this is another argument, people don't know that registering a social enterprise doesn't mean you have to go the non-profit way. You don't need to register a company as a non-profit. While we don't have social enterprise in the CAC, there's something that's been an alternative over the years, which is limited guarantee
Limited by guarantee.
Yes, limited by guarantee, right? Which is what most social enterprises have used over the years. So I would have preferred he had gone that way in terms of registration to officially make him a social enterprise. And moving forward, I love the fact that he took on most of those funding, ensuring that he doesn't lose what the business was all about. And it was just the right step. And this is one thing that many organizations must tell themselves. You need to tell yourself the truth, because you now determines the things you do. Is this a business? Is profit the watchword for us, or is impact the watchword for us? Right? Define that and use that to define the kind of funding you are looking for and the kind of things you do as an organization.
Wow. To close, if there is one lesson you've learned from over a decade of helping others raise funds, right? What is that?
Oh my God, that's nobody has ever asked me that before. Right? But a lot of things are coming to my head, so I might take two.
Okay.
But I'll take one first. What is the most important? Fundraising is more relationship than anything. Right?
Even if you are filling a form to Ford Foundation.
Yes, even if you are doing, think about it. I've been a grant assessor before, where we had to assess a grant pool of over 2,000 applicants of non-profit across Nigeria doing so well. Right? While there are a lot of bottlenecks that help sieve out the best, but I can tell you that beyond your application, one of the things that supports your ability to get that funding is in the investment into relationship, into the networks that you do. I tell people very well, you can't be a fundraiser and you say, I don't like to go out, I'm shy. You must be an event. You must engage with people. You must invest into relationships so you can begin to benefit out of it over time. I have been in situations, I'm going to withdraw the name because of many reasons, because to some it might seem unethical, but I know of an embassy who was giving out a grant, but because of the relationship we had invested in the embassy over time, we had not put in our application. The ambassador
reached out,
put in a call and said, I am seeing a list of shortlisted organizations and I cannot see your organization. And I said, I'm so sorry that we're not able to meet the deadline. And he says to me that it is not illegal, but within my power as the ambassador, I can do a supplementary list. So if the cutoff was supposed to be 10 people to go through the next stage, I can put in 2 extra names. Sending your application, I'm going to give a verdict that your name is going to be added at the 11th organization. Imagine organizations who took sleepless nights could not do that, but relationship, investing into that network was what opened that door for us. Let me even shock you further. I've seen for a fact that funders have an unofficial network that they build over the time. Right, the McCarters, the Fund Foundation, they have a network. And what I've seen happen over the years is that if you did so well with a grant, most of the time that funder recommends you to another fund. Because you're doing so well, they love the impact of that project, right? And they're not able to fund you the next year because of many reasons. They can't continually fund you. They speak to see, guy, I know you're doing this. See, there's these guys who are funded, and I believe that they'll be perfect because the elongated success of that project is also tied to them as the first-time funder.
Yeah.
Right? So network is more important than anything you can imagine. You must build relationship and don't be quick to benefit on the relationship at that point. Be patient, that it might take a while, but once that person is locked in, they're locked in for life. So the first thing I tell you, don't see investors, don't see funders as your meal ticket. See them as your friends and partner in progress. It will go a long way because then you will now begin to invest in that relationship and they will do more to you than just that first paycheck that you think. The second thing, again, I will say to you that I believe is very important, or something I have learned in fundraising over the years, is it's not enough to get the money. What is more important than getting the money is how you manage the money. And management is not just, we did not divert the funds, we used the money for what it was supposed to be, but even in terms of ensuring that you follow to the letter the tenant of that grant agreement. Right? There are certain people that expect you to do reports weekly. I have seen grants like that throughout the grant cycle. There are certain people, funders, that expect you to give them report monthly, right? Get them involved. One of the things you must do is that every tenant of that agreement, you must follow through and through. Up until now, before now, funders don't recall funds, but it's become a thing now. right? I give you $100 million, right? That's a lot of money, but let me say I give you $100,000 to do X, Y, Z. And one of the things that funders have gotten smart to do is that they milestone the project. So the first part of the project is this. So guess what? Some might release the money for you based on milestones, or some might even give you the whole money. And you are in this milestone, and they realize that you are not managing it well. You're not doing it as they had stated. You are being unnecessarily spontaneous in terms of implementation. What they will do to you is that, okay, guess what? We have funded you, right? Take away the money of this milestone. We are recalling the balance of that grant or that fund.
Yeah, we've seen that happen recently.
Many times. It's happening because people think it's just to get the money and run away. You must make sure that you must treat it. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm using the example, but it's like what happens in marriage. Before you got that lady to date you, you did everything. You lied all the lie. You called her every day. You did midnight call. Now you have married her and you are like, why should I call you every time I'm in the office? Come on. Whatever you did to get to the top, you must do more to remain at the top. For that love to be ever waxing, you must be more consistent or even do more than what you did before you got the love in the first. So also with your relationship with big investors or grant funders is that you must make sure you manage it. Don't go outside the scope and keep the relationship. There are certain things that might not even be within the tenets of the project that they are funding, but have a stakeholder relationship gathering where you invite them and say, we are officially letting you know what we have achieved. And this is what we want to do. We want to get your feedback. You didn't ask them for money. But guess what? By doing that, you open the channel of the possibility and say, guess what? We funded you for project A, but I love this project B you're talking about. We want to also fund you for that. So I think those are the two greatest things for me that I've seen over the years.
Wow. That is massive. There's one investor that I was speaking to a while back and they said, what gives her joy is what a dollar can do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you, and basically we'll have you back again.
Anytime.
Thank you.
For you, anytime.
Thank you so much for giving us your time today.